Hi, my name is Donn Smith. That's Donn with two N's. I spent 40 years and 100,000 hours putting together a 100,000 piece puzzle to find out that's not how you do what you do, which is to find out who we are rather than who we think we are. And I liken it to Michelangelo when he was asked, how did he create the statue of David? And he said, it was simple. I went to the quarry, saw this big block of marble, took it to my studio and carved away all the marble that wasn't David. That's what I do. I strip away all the beliefs, both negative and positive, of who you think you are, and you're left with the knowing of who you truly are. And just to give you a little background, like there was 6 sisters, 3 brothers, and there was 2 things that were significant in our background, in our growing up. One is that Dad had spent, he was in the Second World War. He had 28 trips across the English Channel and come back with not a scratch, but post-traumatic stress disorder. So everything was, you're going to die. And then my first sister, Rita, she died at crib death at 4 months. And so Mom, every time she felt that she was pregnant, had this instant impulse that, oh my God, it's going to die. And so we grew up around death. Everything was death. And then throw that strong Irish Catholic Catholicism, rigidity of sin, of venial sin and mortal sin. The only hope you had is possibly making it to purgatory, and do everything you can to not end up in hell. You know, that was what we were taught, and then you were taught by the nuns who reinforced it, and putting everybody in the whole neighborhood. You know, we were the poorest out of 8 communities, second poorest in the 8 communities. But that all, I had to do it gradually, only because I didn't know what I know now. And what I know now is these negative beliefs, the negative ones and the positive ones. So the negative ones are not good enough, and this is good enough, not loved, not worthy, unsafe, safe, failure, success, all of them. They're illusions. And I liken this like being a candle at night, trying to find your way, groping around in the dark. And this one here is kind of like New York City. It's all lit up. You can see that there's still some shadow, that's for sure. But this here, this divinity, this knowing of who we are, this is like the sun. This is like the sun. And you are this powerful. And I'll prove it to you. You see, I'm saying that this all happened in a second, just like a phobia. Who has the phobia? Many. It's like I said, how long did it take to create it? And people say, oh, 20, 30 years. And I say, no. No, it took you a second to create it. You just repeated that over and over for 20, 30, 40, or 50 years. Now, if it happened in a second, how long does it take to uncreate it? You're right, a second. So, here's some examples. You need some examples because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to the ego mind. So I'm going to hopefully speak to your intuition and your heart and your soul. So here's some examples. Al Valjanik. First time I met him, he was slumped over like this and kind of like in a fetal position standing up. And I said, man, you don't look too good. So what's going on? He said, well, I've had prostate cancer for 16 months, had 32 radiation treatments, burned all my stomach, wall, and intestines, and I don't know much time I have to live. I said, don't listen to that crap. Can I ask you some questions? 15 minutes later, from the moment I met him to the moment I walked out the door, was 15 minutes. 3 weeks later, he called me and said, Donn, I don't have any cancer. X-rays showed me. Jim Balsley signed and authorized a check that morning to be written for 1.2 billion. He was in a room with 40 others, all the C-class and all the lawyers on both sides of this lawsuit. And he walked out and gave me a call, and I said, how much time do we have to change this, Jim? He said, I have to be back in the meeting in 8 minutes. 6 minutes later, we were finished, and he walked back in and said, we're not doing it that way. It saved him 615 million. Valeria Shoup, she was in with a Young Presidents Organization, and she volunteered out of the 40 people in the room, 38 to be exact. And I didn't know it at the time, but she had 5 phobias and 5 physical symptoms. We started at 2 o'clock. We were done at 10 to 3. 50 minutes. All the phobias were gone. 2 2 weeks later, all the physical ones were gone. Jerome McGinley, captain of the Calgary Flames, they hadn't been in the playoffs for 7 years. He saw me at third of the way into the season. He only had 2 goals. That year he won the Maurice Richard Trophy with the most goals at 41. Took his Flames to within 2 games of winning the Stanley Cup. Barry Chisholm came to see me with 4 herniated discs. He had 2 operated on a few years earlier. Here he had 4 more. He was in so much pain they gave him, he was getting 1,200 milligrams of something to kill the pain, and many times taking 1,500. He had doing that for over a year. As soon as we met, an hour later, he said, "Oh my God, Donn, this is the first time I've ever, in my whole life, I've not been without pain." 6 weeks later, he had x-rays. They couldn't even find any, even the past ones, of anything wrong with his hernia, with his discs. Now tell me, how's that all possible? I'm just saying, all of those are symptoms, and there's a cause to all of them. It's a start like a phobia, and they just get bigger and bigger and stronger because the nervous system, it's a neurological system, not an intellectual one. And when you try to change this intellectually, it's like working on the engine of a car rather than reprogramming the key. And that's what I do. I reprogram the key. And I want to reprogram your key. And in 4 hours, you can have all of what I'm talking about. You can have it all. Every ounce of this knowing of who you are, like the sun. And with this comes your superhero of gift, light gifts, man. That's it. So I encourage you to make your decision. The ego's not going to want you to do this. Make your decision from your heart. Make your decision from your whole soul. And listen to your intuition. And click on the button below to register for this Friday. This Friday, you can have your life changed in 4 hours. No matter where in the world you are, think about that. 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time to 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time this Friday. I encourage you to say yes and jump on board immediately. I am Donn. I'll see you Friday.